You posted what?
Nate, you're smiling. I can't tell if you're
That's
you're
actually
laughing.
that was an audio recording of what I say on a regular basis to many of the kids that I coach.
And you're laughing, you're smiling. I can't tell if you're just flabbergasted that you would do this and you're laughing about it, or
it's both. Like I've seen both. It's like, wait a minute, you actually posted that, and it's like, seriously, you posted that? Like I think, yeah, if you're around kids long enough, you cover all the bases. You just run the entire rainbow of you posted what, where you can laugh about it, and then you also just total facepalm.
I suppose there's times where you could be really angry about it too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Or saddened
posted
by
what? You posted what?
Oh, we could do a whole little emotion chart here.
We could do. It's an emoji run of you posted what.
Wow.
And as a parent, you have to be ready to deal with all of the above, because social media is just so much a part of kids' lives nowadays. And it depends on what all you include: Snapchat, TikTok. If TikTok's still around, I don't even know. I don't bother to follow up on that stuff.
Yeah,
Instagram,
and then
Twitter, X.
throw YouTube into the whole mix.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of YouTube, Nate, and to any new listeners, if you are just joining the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast, we would love if you would subscribe on YouTube.
Love this episode. Subscribe to the show.
Thank you. So to catch everybody up on where we're at, this is episode 87. We are dealing with values and rules and values, and we're going to specifically hit some real world social media situations, scenarios. If you go back to episode 86, it was party time, Nate, and we were talking about rules and values for teen parties. And then back in 85, episode 85, we were talking about the dreaded homework.
Used to be dreaded. Now it's warm and embraced.
Oh,
it's a beautiful thing.
I like that. And then 84 was the table setting episode.
Yeah, talking about values, rules, values, kind of a chicken and egg kind of discussion.
Yeah, and then we're doing 4 episodes after that. This is the third of the 4th. So let's jump right into some social media stuff. We have some fun little conversation starters.
Yeah, this is a different take and a different angle on the social media thing, because you don't generally hear it in context of the values. Everybody talks about, rules around social media, but this is more about the values in it. And when you have these conversations with your kids, these are great ways to get it started.
So do you want me to start?
I would love for you to start. You always have the best ones first.
Screen time or scream time? I wasn't in love with this at first, but I do like it because I was thinking that a lot of times on social media, people use it as a way to lash out when they say things on social media to other people that they probably would not say in person.
Yeah.
So I think that would definitely get a little conversation going, because in the teen world of social media, unfortunately, you will have a lot of back and forth and some really unkind things being said. And
yeah, it's shocking how mean and cutting some of those comments can get.
Right. So screen time or scream time? What do you got?
Likes, lies, and limits. Great way to get into the conversation. And obviously that bends a little bit more towards the rules side. And so I kind of like that is a catchy little way of saying, hey, what are we going to like about social media? What are the lies that we tell ourselves? What are some of the limits that help us live our values when we're in that social media space?
Very good. This next one I'm going to do as a t-shirt. I think this is t-shirt worthy. Post with a purpose.
Yeah. Can you imagine if everybody approached their social media with that kind of intention.
The
Like,
quality,
to me, the question under is, why am I posting what I'm about to post?
Yeah, the quality would go up.
I think so.
We would filter out some of the frivolous, and I don't know. Do we want to totally get rid of the puppy videos?
No.
Okay.
No, we don't want to get rid of the puppy videos and the cat videos. Like, they're cute.
Well, let's get rid of the cat videos.
No, we love cats. Have we ever had this conversation? Dogs or cats?
You know, I'm a dog person.
I'm such a cat guy.
I grew up with cats. Mr. Brown.
I tolerate dogs. They're fun. I have good relationships with them, but they breathe on me, and it's just, ugh.
Yeah. My favorite cat was Hannibal Hayes. That was his name, and he was a yellow tabby. And the reason why I liked Hannibal so much was he acted like a dog. He greeted me like a dog. He waited by my bedroom like a dog. I was a side sleeper. He would sleep on top of my hip and my side.
See that, and there you go. So it's cats are better when they act a little bit more like dogs.
True.
That's
I won't tell you the ending of Hannibal Hayes. It was
sounds sad.
It was a traumatic incident. I mean, I don't want to mention the fact that I found him on my bike. He became a part of the road. Anyway, hey, we should move on from here.
Wow. So yeah, we should definitely move on.
Do you have a final conversation starter for us?
Yes. It actually fits really well with that little tangent we just went on. Filters aren't just for photos.
Okay.
We could have filtered our conversation a little bit better instead of bringing back traumatic memories for some of our listeners. But Steve, this idea of filters, you have to have a great mental filter. And this is a good way to introduce that idea for your kids. What's the filter going to be? Can I share a couple of questions that I think are just fabulous that you want to use any of these starters to get to? Do you mind if I share some questions?
Yes, Nate, go ahead. I've told you many times that as a co-host, you have question privileges.
Thanks. That's just kind of a habit from coaching practice. I love to reaffirm that I have permission to ask questions. Two things that I think you really want to get into with your kids and using these to start off is great. What are my values? Asking your kids, what are your values when it comes to social media? And then what helps you live those values in a tough space? Because social media gets tough. And this is where you can help the kids shape their own set of social media rules that they can live by. Because we end up in, like, we're going to share a couple stories now about some potential situations, and knowing what your values are and how you can live them in a tough space is critical to success in the social media world.
And I think you would probably agree with me that this is always better in advance. Versus if there's a train wreck and then you're going to it and emotions are high and there's some conflict baked into it. This is better in advance. So we know you have those creatures in your house, those teenagers. If you have some younger kids in the house, you can start on this. The sooner you start on this, the better.
Yes, very much.
Okay. Where do we go from here, Mr. Crandall? Do I have your permission to...
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get into a couple of these quick stories, just scenarios.
Okay, this one, I'm not going to bring up a specific incident, but you could go out there in the world and find many specific incidences where this story plays out. And it simply is that you have a really good athlete or performer that ends up losing something. It could be a scholarship. It could be an opportunity to go to a certain school. It could be an actual season. Maybe they end up getting suspended or something like that because of an old social media post during their more immature years.
Yep.
It's like it's right there for the world to see, and there's all sorts of people that like to spread this, and
And people dig. Like, it's not like they don't just go back and say, oh, what have they posted in the last 3 weeks? They go back and they dig. And just because it's long ago, even if it's deleted, you can't assume that this stuff's deleted. We said this in the party episode. What happens at the party stays on the internet.
Yeah.
And so, such a cautionary tale, and such a great, and kids they live in that land of immortality. Oh, it's never going to happen to me.
Yeah.
Until it does.
Have you ever seen the phrase out there, the internet is forever?
I like that. You could put that on the back of your Post with Purpose t-shirt.
Oh. Yeah.
Good idea. Maybe we'll cook up some merch.
Yeah. Okay, you got a story?
Yeah, another scenario that it's kind of sad, but it's telling, and there's a couple of great ways to approach it when you're parenting your athletes and performers. Parent hops online and they follow their kids, which we should all do, is follow our kids on social media, just see what comes up there. But a parent reads a very heartfelt post from their son or daughter that talks about how they're struggling with anxiety and the struggle that they have, and they've never mentioned it to their parents at all. So the parent is like learning about their kid through social media.
Wow. I see a couple of different angles to this. One is, as a parent, I would be somewhat saddened and think,
what would make you sad about that?
Well, I'd feel like my connection wasn't strong enough that why didn't I, the question that comes into my head is, why didn't I know about this? And why didn't this come up in a conversation? Do I not have the connection that I think I have?
Now, can I ask you a tough coaching question?
Well, you have question privileges.
Why are you making this about you?
Can I just squirm and go off camera? Because I think that's what we do. We do make it about us.
It's exactly what we do.
Which is why we did a whole episode on it's not about you.
Yes.
It's about them. So now you tell me more.
And so that's why I think when you look at the initial reaction that we're going to have as parents is, oh my gosh, I'm such a bad parent because I didn't know about this. Kids live in their own space. They're creating their own lives, and they'll have these experiences without us. And if you see it on social media, what a great opportunity to go to them and say, wow, I saw your post. Thank you for having the courage to share that. And I just want you to know that I'd love to hear more. Tell me about how and then you can like fill in the details that you get from their post. I love that you brought that up. It sounds like you've shown a lot of courage in dealing with this on your own. You can use it as an affirming way and build a connection. And if you approach it that way, they're probably more likely to share some of that stuff with you in the future rather than going to say, well, how come you didn't tell me about this? Because then they might feel bad.
How common do you think how come you didn't tell me about this? I feel awful that I'm finding out about this here. I think that's a default reaction, don't you?
Totally a default reaction. Because like you said, and I would feel the same way. If I saw my kid post something like that, I would be like, oh, I feel like a bad parent. I didn't know. It's not our job to know everything as a parent. It's to coach them. And this is the whole crux of our podcast. Stop parenting and start coaching. It is what it is. They posted something online. You didn't know about it. Not about you. Great opportunity to jump in with your kids and be like, hey, I love that you had the courage to share that. Tell me more about what you're experiencing. Make it about them. Use it as a triumphant moment. Use it as a jumping off point. So many good things that can come out of that scenario.
I try to save the brilliant word for when it's really brilliant, and I'm going to say brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Can we do an editing thing where a crown appears above my head on the bald spot? Every once in a while, I have a good idea.
We can try this. Yeah.
Flattering.
Okay, I've got another story.
Hit it.
You're going to like this one because I would say you are a master, Coach Crandall, at helping teens Well, helping anybody with a working functional heartbeat, you are terrific at helping them to build confidence.
Thank you.
So how could you post in a way that helps you to build your self-confidence and do the self-promotion thing in what we would refer to as an appropriate way?
That's actually a really good question to bring up with your kids. How can you use social media to build your self-confidence or to put yourself out there in a positive way? I think a lot of it comes down to authenticity. Like the accounts that I follow that I'm impressed by, they're authentic in their journey. Obviously, I run a lot, and so there's a lot of running accounts that I have, and I genuinely enjoy seeing people post not just about the medals and the good runs and the PRs, but when they post about how this has been tough. Today's run was awful. I'm fighting through an injury right now. I think what it does is it makes it real. And when I think kids can gain confidence through that, and it's never about reading the comments and getting those things, but it's become a unique way. It's almost like journaling. Kids' social media is almost their way of journaling now. And we used to, back in the olden times, we would write down in our journal, this is what happened to me today. The days of yore, back when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But it's become our journal. And so they catalog their lives on social media. Are they cataloging it in a way that's going to allow them to notice the growth that they've experienced? Because if they can look at their own social media and be like, oh, wow, a year ago I was really struggling with that, but I shared it and I was authentic. And now look how far I've come.
Beautiful.
So it might not be a bad way to approach that, especially with your athletes and performers. Good way to celebrate some of the progress they've made, not in a cocky, demeaning way to other people, but I'm happy that I've accomplished this. Look how far I've come.
Super good. So let's finish up this commuter-friendly episode with some more questions.
Some quick questions you can ask your kids.
If you're just tuning in, we're not going to give you a checklist of stuff. You can go to Google for that. We're going to give you some questions to think about, questions to ask yourself as a parent, questions to ask your teen as you work on this. I don't know if that was
I'm going first.
Oh, okay. You can do that.
Thank you. I like this permission thing. The good thing to remember with your kids, ask permission to ask them questions. It's not a bad thing. What's your teen's first instinct? This is an introspection kind of question for the parents. What's their first instinct? To scroll, to snap, or to speak? And it's
Snap.
not. Yeah.
Did you just bring in crap chat?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No. Yeah. Don't get me started on Snapchat. Not a fan. I love that question introspectively, because if your teen's first instinct is to scroll and you know it, it kind of weaponizes you. Now, if I know my kid's first instinct is to scroll, rather than trying to speak to them about a certain topic, I might find a couple of reels or something that I could send over to them and share with them. And then when they're doing their first instinct, which is to scroll, now I'm putting something in there. And then that sets me up for the follow-up conversation of, hey, did you look at that video I sent? What'd you think about that? And so you're using their language, their first instinct, as a way of initiating some better conversation. So I think just understanding, are they scrolling, snapping, or speaking?
Terrific. This is a question for your teen, which can create a great conversation. And this one is, if your social media history were to be published as a part of your college application, would it help you or would it hurt you?
It's a really good question for them to keep in mind. Good filter yes. That they can use.
Fire away, Nate.
I love again, kind of introspective, but do your social media rules reflect your family values or just your frustrations? As a parent of athletes and performers, am I snapping them with rules because I'm frustrated about how they're using social media? Or am I using this as a wholesome way of teaching and training them? You're going to be in the spotlight. You're an athlete or performer. Are you coming from a place of your values?
Love it. Here's another one. I think this is a constant battle for parents and teens and everybody, because out there in the world, Nate, as you know, there are nefarious characters. There are some people doing some really bad things and taking advantage of our youth and wreaking a lot of havoc. They're menaces. So this question, I think, is good between parents, between spouses. I think it's also good between parent and teen. And it may be a good thing between teen and teen, with their friends. And it simply is, how do you balance connection and privacy in the online space, in the social media space?
Yeah. Powerful question, and could lead to some tough conversations, but they're beneficial ones. And you always bring it back to what are our values as a family? Are those the kind of people we want to be sharing stuff with?
And once again, I think that's that's part of this equation, that you are much better being out in front of rather than afterwards, and you're trying to clean up the mess. You got another one?
What boundaries would you set for me? Ask your kids.
You as a parent.
Ask your kids, what are the boundaries that you would set for me on social media? Give them some of that power and decision making, and have fun with that conversation.
Very interesting. I would like to see some of those conversations. There could be some playful fun mixed into that one for sure.
Absolutely.
Here's another one, Nate. When's the last time social media brought your family closer together instead of creating or causing conflict?
And hopefully you can think of one. If you've got one, great, celebrate it and duplicate it. If you haven't had one, the follow-up question is, what kind of social media interactions would bring our family closer together?
Yeah. Because it most likely includes something that's inspiring, uplifting, edifying, something where it's involving people that you really love, respect. And that's one of the great things about social media. We often list all the negative things, but the connection and the uplifting and learning, and there's some really good things that can happen there.
Totally agree. There's my last question. What benefits would you find if you did a social media fast or a week-long social media detox?
Can I make a suggestion?
Mm-hmm.
We did an episode on cell phone fasting, and now you're specifically asking about social media. Use the word experiment. Why not just try it? I mean, try a detox. When you say detox, I'm thinking of cold turkey.
Rehab.
Rehab.
Social media rehab.
Yeah, but what if you, as
That's
teens,
a great
as
suggestion,
parents,
Steve.
just experiment and start with something small. Maybe for some of you, it's 5 minutes.
1 day. Yeah.
Well, I was going 5 minutes, but
really small.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like that idea of a fast or a social media detox, and just see what happens, and then go into it with a neutral state of mind, just like a scientist would with an experiment, and say, we're going to see what happens here.
The stepping away sets the table for you to go back to it with a new perspective or a fresh set of eyes.
Yeah. Okay, parents, you guys can do this. Post with a purpose. What's your favorite tag, Nate?
I honestly post with a purpose. Put it on the t-shirt, Steve. On behalf of Steve Galley, I'm Nate Crandall, and we thank you, our loyal listeners, for tuning in to this episode. If you love what you're learning from the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast, we would appreciate it very much if you would leave us a 5-star review and some glowing comments. We also encourage you to share this episode with your friends and family who are parents of athletes and performers. And if you want to explore further and see what Steve and I are creating to help thousands of parents, athletes, and performers, please visit our company's website at createtransformbecome.com. That's createtransformbecome, all one word, .com. There you will find a growing number of resources to help you elevate your performance. Thank you again for your support, and we encourage you to create a magical relationship with your athlete and performer.